Senator Josh Hawley, the FBI, the Department of Justice, over the last several years has not exactly conducted itself in an exemplary way. Matter of fact, I would argue it's been thoroughly politicized and lawless. What can a senator do about these sort of things, particularly when you're in the minority? I mean, you can't even call for hearings and so forth. What can be done?
Well, I think what we can do is stand up and demand answers, Mark, which is my job. I mean, this is why when we had Justice Department officials up in front of us last week, I took the opportunity to ask about the FBI's crackdown on these local school boards and to drive for answers. You know, I actually had Democrats on the committee say, oh, this isn't the right forum, Senator Hawley. You need to, this is a hearing about something else. You need to wait. Well, the answer is that you can't wait. I mean, you've got, whenever you have opportunity, you got to push for answers. You got to push for accountability, and Republicans need to keep doing that. You know, speaking of the FBI for a second, we also heard testimony recently that when it comes to those U.S. gymnasts who were abused, they went to the FBI. They gave their cases, they gave their details to the FBI, and what they testified was the FBI didn't do anything. So here you have the FBI not acting on what turned out to be credible allegations of abuse. But now the Biden administration wants the FBI to go to local school boards. I mean, this is the priority, not going after crime, but going after parents. I think that speaks to the kind of misplaced priorities. And you're absolutely right about what we learned in the last administration. What we learned was officials at the FBI and the Department of Justice falsified evidence to a court in order to get wiretaps on the former president's campaign and campaign officials by lying to a court about it. If that's not corruption, I don't know what is.
It just seems to me that the culture, the media, the Democrat Party surrogates have a very low standard when it comes to morality and ethics and complying with the law. We saw the summer before last all the violence that was taking place, and that was called mostly peaceful. You saw Democrat mayors painting BLM in their boulevards and so forth. You saw basketball players and others contributing heavily to Black Lives Matter. The organization was celebrated. The Marxist founders were celebrated. And here we have parents and we have taxpayers who are voicing themselves. And let me say this. The Constitution, Senator, doesn't say you got to go up there and sound like a host on NPR. It doesn't say you have to go up there and be monotone throughout. You're allowed to raise your voice. You're allowed to wave your arms. You're allowed to picket. You're allowed to protest. You're allowed to bring street signs. You're allowed to be energetic. You're allowed to do all those things. You're not allowed to be violent. But that's different. And they provide no evidence. I mean, it's very, very sketchy. No evidence of this widespread violence. And so the civil libertarian groups, well, let me ask it to you this way. Any Democrats in the Senate join you when you were raising concerns with the Deputy Attorney General about how these parents were about to be treated?
No, and in fact, what they said at the time was, Mark, they attempted to stop me from asking the questions and, said, oh, this is not a hearing about that. This is, a mocking. This is not the right time or place to ask these questions. I mean, listen, when you come before the United States Senate, you take an oath. And you've done something like what this administration has done, trying to use the FBI against citizens. If you come before me and you're under oath, I'm going to ask you questions. If you come before me, I'm going to ask you tough questions. I'm not going to let you off easy. And I'm not going to be told that, oh, well, I got to get the Democrats' permission beforehand. And just to speak to her a second about the left's double standard. Mark, the left's really gotten weird. I mean, have you noticed this? They're following Kristen Sinema into bathrooms. They're breaking the law by following people around and shoving cameras in their faces on airplanes. They're violating basic principles of decency and the law. And so they're doing all of that. But yet, when it comes to parents wanting to express their views at school board meetings, oh, we can't have that. Oh, no, that's harassment. I mean, the left is really, they've gotten their priorities exactly backwards. They got their standards totally doubled up. And it's just weird behavior, weirder and weirder from the left. And it would be something that we could just say, boy, that's strange. But the fact that they're using the federal government to enforce these speech codes and to enforce their political ideology, that's dangerous.
Senator, you specifically said to the chairman of the committee last week, we need to have a hearing on this issue, on this memo. We need the Attorney General up here under oath. We need to question the Attorney General about what he's done here. Is the chairman of the committee calling a hearing?
No, in fact, he waved that off, and they will look away, Mark, like they do every time. You know, the Democrats have been doing this on every subject. Afghanistan, the debacle there, they look the other direction. They don't want to talk about it. The FBI's abuses in the last administration, they look the other way. Now the FBI's abuse and the Justice Department's abuse when it comes to school boards, they just look the other way. They're enablers. They are enabling this administration in its lawlessness and in its fecklessness and in the dangers that they're creating for this country. But I can tell you this, the Attorney General of the United States will have to come back up to the Senate. He will have to come back up to the Judiciary Committee, and when he does, you can expect that I, at least, am going to press him for answers, and I'm not going to be put off. He might try to stonewall me. He might try to deny me the ability to get the answers, but I am going to put the questions to him, and I hope my colleagues will join me.
I also noticed, Senator, the head of the FBI, Christopher Wray, hasn't objected, certainly not publicly, certainly not to members of Congress, so I guess he's all in. Senator Josh Hawley, I want to thank you. You're a breath of fresh air, and I want to thank you for your patriotism. God bless you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.